All right, here we go again. Buckle up. We're going to try to make those rough roads smoother. So I'm focusing on not turning the heat on as much also, because when I had COVID, I turned the heat up a little higher than I normally would. And then I don't need the humidifier at that point. Generally stays up a bit. We'll see if it gets drier. Actually, I think the coming months will be moister. We're starting up it's starting to get moister. I think the driest months are behind us, kind of December and January. Weren't that dry, but so if we start a new era of negotiation and working together in cooperation, generally the requirement for the military shifts to special operations. Small unit special operations more so than conventional. So maybe that's already happened. So like on the border, um, if if we get to some extreme infiltration type of things going on or attempts at infiltration, the special operators would be very much needed there. Right? They're trying to infiltrate the nation because we're effective. Again, the idea is, well, if we leave the cartels, they'll try to present this idea. If you leave us alone and let us deal our drugs, then we won't bother you. Right? But again, you can't let that happen. Thank you, sir. Well, you know, that would be their goal. Again, we've built up a lot on the border to detect them, so I don't know what stage you're at, but and not only for the border operations, we do, you have your low intensity conflicts and things like that that are going on. Right? And that was one of the complaints about U.S. aid being cut off. That's actually, I mean, they don't say all that they do, but. Right. So again, on our border, we want that civil affairs, indigenous forces mentality because that's what works best. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a direct model of special forces operations, like in a foreign land in the middle of a combat scenario, but it's kind of close. So those people are more experienced with that type of military intelligence effort. A lot of times you have your military intelligence officers and non-commissioned officers and some of their troops, and then attached to them are special operator teams. Or, in the same unit, I wouldn't say attached to, right? Attached to the task force. Right? So the military intelligence team might need something done. And then I think there are actually, were there LRPs assigned? At one time, I think there were long-range reconnaissance patrol people assigned to military intelligence units. They weren't even in like infantry units or task forces. It was actually a military intelligence unit. Right. Again, I think where El Mencho is, he's in a long-range reconnaissance patrol area. I think that's what he's looking at fleeing to inside of Mexico and building some underground systems or something. So he's like El Chapo to the millionth power as far as planning these type of things. Right. At least he says he is. or describes it himself as such. He doesn't say that specifically, but well, I don't know how effective he is as to whether you want to negotiate anything, but that, negotiate can save a lot of effort. Right. But it's not going to be narcotics distribution. He has to get out of that. Right. Well, the government of Mexico isn't against not destroying El Mencho. I mean, they would prefer a peace treaty with El Mencho where he comes out of narcotics and all crime. He has to come out of all crime. Maybe he can pay restitution to the government, and the government will spread that out to the people. Right. And then he gets to keep a certain amount of money and begin a legitimate private sector business with no criminal, no racketeering, none of that stuff. He could even just invest it. I mean, that's what I would do. I mean, I wouldn't be a person like him. I wouldn't do that stuff. But if I were him, I would make a deal where I get to invest my money. He didn't have to work. Just invest his money. But, it's not going to be all his money. He has to pay restitution, right, and a fine or whatever it is. Instead of buying that $45,000 RPGs, he could be paying the government for an amnesty. It's not buying an amnesty, but it's saying, what it's doing, it's reducing our effort, reducing the losses in fighting his people. Right? And it's ending his narcotics empire right now. Now, of course, somebody's going to backfill, but I think we're getting to the point where that can be handled. Again, yeah, he's got his people. His people have money too. So again, right, there have to be a large negotiation. And again, if they go on the wrong side of the law, they're gone. Right. Yeah, it sounds like the terror thing, right? The terrorist amnesty program. Well, it could be if we negotiate it right and it works, it's a win-win, right? And no reason to cut our nose off, spite our face. Thank you, sir. No, Hashem has certain selves, and I try to explain how they work. God, has different personalities. It's in the scriptures. It's based upon what we're doing on this planet, on how God can get through. So sometimes God sounds like God to me. But a lot of times it's just my friend Hashem or my friend God. Right. But it's strange because it came out recently like that. Like I knew I'd live through COVID and wouldn't have too much trouble. They're trying to fear me, of course. Well, because God gave me scripture. And actually an angel said, don't worry, God's got you. Pretty much, but it was a little more official. The angel said, God will heal you. Like the whole time I couldn't get medicine and all that, the angel was talking to me. So just to say, don't worry. Even before I had the trouble getting the medicine, the angel just ruled in right from the beginning. But I mean, I had peace for 24 hours, like big peace. And they kind of killed it, but right. Oh my God. Anyway. So once we get this cooperation effort going, it'll be easier for us to do things. But again, you're not a real person to the Mexican military until you are. So the more interaction we have, again, if you're on our side and we can work something out for you to address the Mexican federales in unit formations, then we could do that. Like we could have a special operator, we could have Green Beret, Civil Affairs, Indigenous personnel kind of guy, and he goes over and gives a pep talk and some pointers. And maybe you don't want to do pointers, sometimes that insults, right? It just depends if they need it. He can go over there and talk to them. And, then he becomes a real person. See? You go over there with the Border Patrol people, you know, you could have a team of people. Right. Now you're not just this uniform on the other side of the border. You're real. They're livered, every last one of them. So I said something earlier to the spirits because they were, deep state trying to rule in here. I said, you know what, the only nothing wrong with something. They said there's something wrong with you. I said, there's nothing wrong with me. There's something wrong with you. And you know what's wrong with this country is that they're not so angry that they want to rip you out of your car and beat you senseless. That's what's wrong with this country. That's it. That they allowed you to become that and didn't pull you out of your car and beat you senseless at an intersection. And everybody stand by and clap. But again, if Trump can't change the world, it's coming. Or refuses to change the world, because again, things happen. Thank you, Larry. That's the only thing that's wrong with this country, is they didn't pull you out of your car and beat you senseless when you told them to attack their neighbor and offered them whatever it was, $1,000, $10,000, $1 million. Whether you're whoever you are, military, civilian, law enforcement, president, I don't care. Thank you much. Because they work for the cartels. That's why it's here. Otherwise, it wouldn't be here. They could even be MAGA. Don't buy into their shit. They've been doing it so long, and they get shown. The trick to spycraft is they show them how they'll never get arrested, and they show them how the system works, how it's rigged. They're heroes for arresting people that are selling drugs, but yet they're the reason drugs are here because they won't arrest the other people. Because they're part of the, they pay protection. Paying protection is like this neutral, unknowable thing kind of for the average person. But if you think that these are the people that make deals with cartels so they can bring the drugs in, and they could be the best cop busting the most drug dealers, because essentially they could bust every drug dealer if they weren't corrupt. Aurora, Colorado, killed me, destroyed me. I couldn't get back to my massage. I eventually got back to my massage. Right. But yeah, this is where Trent Arrega, whatever they're called, Tren de Arrega, it's where one of their big claims to fame hideouts are. Meanwhile, they're aiming their vehicle at me and gunning it while I'm broadcasting just like this. Walking, trying to get some exercise, totally in pain, off kilter. Couldn't get back to massage. Psychologically operating me with a bunch of spy masters. Flying helicopter overhead, trying to make me afraid. Correct. Bringing 3 sheriff deputies into our living space. I walked right up and started talking to them. They didn't know what to do. That's probably not a report, right? Oh, he acted strange around us. We think he's guilty of a serious crime. The question is, did Tren de Arrega pay them? Or whoever it was at the time. El Mencho. They have a network, and there's a point man to pay, or a point woman, or several of them that pay the money. It comes from cartels and other people. There's people that are side job money people, but again, they're paying bribes. Meanwhile, you're ruining my chances of ever healing from the disability they caused. They're part of it. One long chain. Statute of limitations has not begun to run on their criminal enterprise. I mean, there's sex parties, there's rapes, there's kids on drugs and heroin, 14-year-olds having sex with 60-year-olds in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I'm a guy riding my bike, giving poor people money when they need money. Calling the police when a homeless guy falls asleep on the side of the road, could be dead or on his way to die. They're going to make up that shit about me? FBI included, DHS included, Marshal Service included, State Police included, Hughes and Henry included. Meanwhile, people really doing that are living the life around and giving them a few bucks so they don't want to arrest them. Because they all work for the cartel. Naples, Florida included. They don't care. They got $1 million home and their kids aren't on drugs. That's all they care. And let Trump and his people turn out to be those people. Watch what happens. Watch what happens. So again, stay focused on what you're supposed to be doing. If Elon Musk accesses DEA personnel, downloads it, he could take that information, put it in an AI system, and know where every DEA officer in this nation is. Every last one of them, including administrative employees. Even if they're in Mexico. I told you about that scenario years ago that it may actually be happening. Because AI can figure out who you work for. Never believe that technology is where they say it is. Always believe it's 10 years ahead. Now, we may not have that AI that they're building, but they've had AI. He could actually develop information using all that information he has access to, put it in AI, and it would tell him if any undercover officers around him, federal officer, or in his organization. Again, this is not the person we usually use because of those possibilities and conflicts of interest. Or we'll include at least the security people to watch it. Now, I'm not, the big thing is, well, you mean those people that tried to stop them? No, I'm not even talking about them. They could be deep state for all I know. Somebody, anybody, with some sort of credibility. Again, that's how the judges feel. Their information might be in there. I'm not sure how it works, but I know their staff is in there. Oh, they're not happy at all. The only thing that stands between the Trump administration and everything, is the federal judiciary. I mean everything. They don't even have to rule against it. They can just drag their feet with a temporary order stopping you. Next you know, it's 3 years. Just like the 3 years I spent not being able to get anywhere or heal. Maybe 4 years. Next you know, you're out of office, you never got anywhere. So be careful what you believe in. Be careful what you're willfully ignorant about. Be careful of your scams. Because your administration can be stopped dead in its tracks. And then if you have a problem with it, they'll hold you in contempt of court and put you in jail endlessly. I think it's 360. I know the one for the House and the Senate can put you in contempt for 365 days. But I'm not sure how long a judge can. Actually, we can look that up. Contempt of court, federal, maximum sentence. Not more than 6 months. So it's only 6 months. Then somebody else will go in under for 6 months. You get one out, put somebody else in. Again, that's what you're doing. Why shouldn't they do it? Obviously, the bulk of the J6 was just bullshit. I thought some of the cases were overcharged, but most of them were just bullshit charges. I'd like misdemeanors, community service, a week served, whatever it was. Right. So again, even though it's a large number, the majority, just chump change cases. Right. Just saying, don't do it again. I wouldn't have charged all of them, and I wouldn't have given some of the sentences. Only because I know other people are doing things and not getting anything. Right. Right. I felt the majority of people spent enough time to have caused a deterrence effect. Again, there's going to be isolated people that might. Again, the mentality around the pardons could cause the wrong inference and then could cause them to do the wrong thing. Right. I mean, now you have to worry that what's his name, Chansley, will do something with a gun. I mean, obviously, it could just be like, hey, I'm free, I'm not a felon anymore, I can get a gun. Right. But if he ever has a crime with a gun, it's going to fall back on the administration. We agree, Larry. I'll just tell you, I probably could have healed 3-4 years ago if they were kept away from me. No, I had serious issues trying to get the massage, and because they were watching. I would Google it, and I don't know if it's direct energy. Could involve direct energy. It definitely involved psychological torture over the years. And part of it happened in Aurora, Colorado, where Tren de Arega reigned supreme. As I told you when I was there, they're not protecting anybody. Playing their game out. But they'll say, we're MAGA, we're MAGA. What is MAGA then? So I thank the Lord for this battery, but it's supposed to be 45 watts. And I know when you charge up something like super fast, when it gets to a certain percentage, it slows down. And it's only, is what they're saying, it's like a regular, like 12 watts or something. Right. But if I don't get 45 watts on this thing, just because it says 40 watts on 5 watts on the side, doesn't mean I'm keeping it. Right. Chinese businesses are notorious for that, mislabeling their product. You'll even see them, like there's a phone you can buy, and it says S25 or something like that, or S24, but it's an S24. It's not a Samsung S24. You have to be careful. It's probably commensurate with like a track phone or something, like an average track phone. So again, it's not too bad outside. I feel pretty good. I think it was some of this was the infection, but also I was able to massage my back a little bit yesterday in a certain spot. I found it again. I was able to see it, and it may have actually freed it a little bit. Again, healing versus cursing, or blessing, healing and blessing versus cursing. I firmly believe if they would have ripped you people out of your car 10 years ago, this nation would be perfect today. Rip you out of your car, beat you senseless until you do it again, and we'll beat you senseless again. The only thing wrong with this nation is they aren't offended by what they're saying and doing enough to rip you out of your car and beat you senseless. They just kind of reversed the curse, they cursed me to it. I didn't curse them. I'm just saying it neutrally. I'll fix that. So hopefully these shoes work also a little bit. The shoes I got are shit. No, it's civil contempt. Well, actually, that may actually be longer because it gets open. Is it open-ended? That's still 6 months. I think for the way it's worded somewhere for the Senate and the House is for one session. So essentially, I think when the session is up, then they release you. So again, if it's December, maybe you're okay. Then you can just do it again, though. Right. I'm thankful to the Lord that I could get to that antibiotic. He just was like, this shit happens all the time. He said, no big deal. Even if you messed up your dosing, even if it didn't work, it happens all the time. He said, I got something that'll work. I actually diagnosed it myself, and I actually came up with the same conclusion. Like the same antibiotic he came up with, or one of two, right? By Googling. Because essentially I hinted that, I probably should move on to a different antibiotic. I think that's maybe what the guy did wrong. Again, it's common that they do that, but, I went to the wrong urgent care, and that's from them cursing me. Your choices are limited. You just can't see. And I know which one I should have went to because they probably would have did a bunch of tests. They may even have found COVID if I had COVID at the time. I might not have had COVID on the 27th like I thought. Well, one doctor believed that I already had COVID. It just didn't turn up on the test. I can't refute him because I didn't take the test again. I should have taken the test the day after he started me on the antibiotics just to make sure. Right. So, so I may have only had it, a shorter period of time. And then I actually did, because I thought I still had it. And it was just the sinus thing, because it was making me cough. So I thought it was COVID. I think actually the sinus thing made me feel worse than the COVID. The sinus infection made me feel worse than the COVID. I mean, yeah, actually, yeah. If I divide up the two things, it was actually the sinus infection it was worse. Because all the time I go, yeah, mom. I'm like, what is this? This is horrible. I thought it was COVID, but it wasn't. It was a really bad sinus infection, and the drip was so bad I was gagging from it. Right. And again, maybe the COVID part may have been that my throat was a little bit, maybe already raw from COVID. Right. He very positive. The presentation of these doctors in this telehealth thing, just fabulous. There it is too. Okay. Here's another thing. I was wondering why that was coming up. If you start your border stuff with the agents and officers and the military, allow telehealth. Make sure you have a telehealth system that they can dial into. Again, certain things you want them to come in and all that, but right. Keep stop by here or send it to your unit or something, whatever it is. You can send medication down the unit, right, where they can stop by and pick it up, or I don't know. You can do I don't know if there's pharmacies out there, but make things easy where soldiers can seek health care real simple, and they don't have to come out of the field even. Who knows what they need it for? It's just things. We get a rash, whatever it is. Right? They show the doctor the rash with the phone. Right. Well, that'll make it like a lot of times it's difficult for a military person to break away from the unit without worrying about what the boss is going to say. Right. Happened to me actually, and I stayed. We did an RTEP in Korea, a horrible weather. And again, I came out on top. I was great at what I did. Right. But I stayed. I remember planning I think it was in Korea, a bridge demolition. Was it Korea? No, it was somewhere else, I think. All I know is we did this crazy RTEP in Korea. I can't even remember. I think it started by being alerted in the middle of the night. I don't even know if it was planned. I can't even remember what it was for sure, but it was pretty crazy. And I pushed through. I stayed in the field. Right. And I had something with my throat. No, I actually had something. And that's dangerous in Korea. Only until after I left the military, I didn't understand how dangerous it was. Because they got shit that kills you quick. Right? But I stayed out there, and then I went over to the PA. I told him I'm going over to the PA. And he said, oh shit, and he gives me this 2 shots of, some serious antibiotic, and then gives me a bottle of stuff. And then tells me, light duty for 3 days. I mean, so I pushed through to the end of the field problem, stayed in the field sick. Right? And that was I think that was the thing too. You had they wanted everybody to push through because it was just so nasty. And it's like Hell Week. And I went to my platoon sergeant's door. And I'm knocking and knocking and knocking, and he's not answering. And I was trying to give him the slip. So I slipped the slip under the door because I had a pretty good relationship. Right? Freaked out on me. Again, it was post that moment when they had refused to allow me to extend, right, in Korea. I never had that problem before like that. So he's dogging me, and I'm thinking, I stayed in the field through this whole thing with this thing, right? And all I did was slip the 24 hours, quarters, or 48 hours, whatever it said. I can't even remember. Right? Thanks, Larry. And actually, you would want to extend me in Korea. I'm that type of person anyway, right? Thank you, Larry. No good deed goes unpunished. I did work for those people all the time, like extra work. Like I said, when they made me the clerk, and like for a short period of time. But I'm like a wait because again I'm teaching field expedient demolitions as the clerk, that kind of thing. Right. So it's a way different appointment. But that was what I think Sergeant Grant was first sergeant or something for a period of time. So that's what you would expect, you know. His clerk teaches field expedient demolitions and patrolling. I mean, I have no idea. It doesn't make any sense. But again, so I think somebody told him something. Right. May have pulled him aside. I don't know. Because he came in to check on my extension. When he came back, he was so cold. I said, well, "Did you find out anything?" And he was just like the biggest jerk in the world. Right. Thank you, Larry. So again, I had to make sure that I got, had the marriage, and I tried to do the marriage paperwork as soon as I could. Then, because it's a process. You don't worry about it, right, until you're running out of time. Right? Then it may have been an attempt. Well, maybe he'll just not marry her, and then we'll keep him single. I mean, they're psychos. 100%. And don't tell me you didn't do something like that for the last 30 years. Even though I was married, they're breaking it up. Spending government money, private contractor money, criminal funds. I'm sure a bunch of them have sexual pleasure after when they alter somebody's sexuality or block them from relationships and sexuality. So again, as far as people in government being unprotected, well, I know you don't stop the deep state, so I can give a shit less whether you get a protection detail or not. I didn't even get the basic protection of police department due to no fault of my own, due to their corruption and devilry. Looks like there's a push to change my food. Now, a PSYOP. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the food, the other food. That's what they could be trying to cause. Fear that there's something wrong with the other food. Right. Back to what I was eating, previously. Versus, because I've ordered some like trail mix, some little bit of junk chips, but not terrible for you, but not the best. Because I'm testing the food. That's how you do it. Thank you, Larry. First off, some of the places I shop, their people don't shop. They're rich. They shop the rich places. They pay like $2, like they pay $2 more for food, same item. Right. So again, Mexico, U.S. operation or U.S. cooperation, doesn't have to stay where it is. They can come along and be part of what we're part of. Well, essentially, on this battery, I mean, I do know there's different protocols. So it may be 45 watts on a different protocol, but that's not, it represented, that it would work. So, right. I think I read it, right. But it could be a protocol, but it could also be, apparently, the 45 watt phones don't charge always 45 watt. There's a point where it slows down. It's just like that first 50% or something. I don't know what the percentage is. So, but the cooperation could cause Mexico to be our true partner in this thing. We've had a certain level of cooperation over the years, but once it gets out to the field, our agents aren't out there, our military's not out there, and the corruption, causes it to be pretty much, to a certain degree, ineffective. So we're not going to go through that. That's Mr. Ratcliffe needs to needs to know, or needs to let the administration know, as far as, that should be an ongoing assessment. What percentage of our operations do you think are effective, and what are we losing based upon corruption? Because if we lose too much based upon corruption, then that, it's going to go differently. Right? Then CIA can begin their operations. She's got to put up with it. Well, kind of like what's happening in Russia there. Ooh, they're gone. That person's gone. Person's gone. That person's gone. Well, if El Mencho disappears, then we don't have to worry about El Mencho. Now don't get fixated on one person. Right. Because there's always El Schmencho and El Penso and El Tenso. Right. But then the risk benefit assessment changes at that point. Like when they fight the battle they fight, it's conceivable to survive. If you make a battle where it's inconceivable to survive, a lot of those people will want to fight it. And that, that does happen, but there's a way to do it. And Mr. Ratcliffe's people know how to do it. Like you'll get that happening naturally. People are in gangs and they're all dying, and fighting wars and they're all dying and they're still staying. But there's a way to survive and a way to die. You give them the out. That's what I'm speaking with the Hamas to also. Again, you're going to take certain people out, and everybody knows that. Right? But at a certain point, you can give them the option to survive if they walk off. Well, I was wondering whether anybody was still left out there in the planning, October 7th and all that, and they just took somebody out recently. Well, again, it would be part of a larger effort where we're saying, okay, this is going to be the change. No more Hamas. Palestinian Authority. Palestinian Authority is going to work with IDF, going to work with Shin Bet, going to work with Mossad, and we're going to develop that relationship, that bilateral relationship. Right. Well, because we don't want that to happen again. We don't want any of it. So again, you take the standpoint that what happened is not the best case scenario, no matter who believes this person won or that person won. And for both sides, saying you didn't win, we didn't win. We all lost. And we don't want it to happen again, so we're going to go in a different direction. I mean, you just need the billions of dollars that we don't have to do other things. That alone is horrific. Well, this is what I'm pretty much due till the sun comes back out. And, and the warm days start again. I got about a week of cold weather, I guess, at least. And it's not terribly cold. It's not going down to 10 degrees, at least not for now. This battery worked out pretty good, except, I have to drain my phone and then read what the charge is. Right. Well, because it's saying that it's hooking up at fast charge, and it's supposed to hook up at super fast. Now, it did hook up on super fast on my older tablet from like 2021. So again, if they had let me sit in Dallas, Garland, and just relax, it was conceivable that I would have healed. I just had to get back to some sort of therapy. That was my preference at that point. I thought Garland was pretty cool, and my pain was starting to subside. But then those socks showed up again, and then the pain increased, and some dude was sitting there on the wall. So I was being psychologically tortured, and I believe I was drugged with it. And again, Dallas PD was affiliated. I don't know what they know, but they're affiliated. And God caused those officers to be shot in the leg. I know, they were doing their job, but the question is, are they doing a job on people also? Some people would say yes, and they did. But you may not have heard it. Thank you, Larry. Like, okay, they're arresting a pedophile. There was a pedophile that they were arresting, but the question is, did they make that pedophile? And again, make is, you see, it's a play on words. Satan did that, but create that pedophile. You say make to a cop, they're like, yeah, we made him, which is really telling on themselves, kind of. But in law enforcement, if you make somebody, that means you solved the crime, right? You figured out the case, right? Or you identified a crime, right? But again, did they create the pedophile using the system that I speak about? And there's a good possibility they did, because they were there doing it to me and drugged me. Whoever the drugger was is somebody you were affiliated with because you were part of the operation. Or Garland. I don't know if it's Garland PD or Dallas PD. I can't tell you. I think that area, it says it's Garland, but I think it's patrolled by Dallas. I can't remember. That was in a protected compound. It had like a fence. Like, I think I took a picture of it. My social media. It was not like an iron fence. It's like almost something you see at the White House or a federal place. And then it had like small rolls of concertina on top. Or barbed wire, I can't remember which one it was. And I was in an area of it that was a little bit more secluded than the other areas of the facility. But the other area of the facility was over by like a restaurant or something. Right? The other building, my building, backed off to that fence. It was secluded. My broadcast picked up. The sound was good. I had bought the tablets. I bought some other stuff. I was feeling really good. And they attacked. Probably all I needed was some massage, and I'd have been fine. I had to leave. There's no doubt. There's no pushing through that. No, there were times specifically in history when they came in, the operation was to convince me they wanted me to help with something. And I believe now that they use that against me. That's why I brought it up about the CIA officer dealing with China, because he was trying to say that he was simply working a case that the others knew about, like the other CIA officers knew about. And even if they did or not, once it goes beyond a certain point, the deep state takes control of it, they're not going to vouch for him, right? Because they'll end up the same place. But for all conceivable possibilities that he was killed by the deep state out of government, and then they set him up to continue on in a certain way. Now, I was set up, and I think it appeared well enough. I mean, you're willfully ignorant if you believe I'm committing a crime. Agreed. Well, these corrupt officers, if this, obviously El Bencho knows there's corrupt officers here in the United States. That encourages that kind of thing. If we didn't have corrupt officers, then they'd be like, it's a lot more difficult. So we're a bread and butter community for the cartels, and those 10,000 troops, hopefully they can minimize that infiltration into the United States. We don't know because we got a lot of corrupt people who work at ports. We've got a lot of corrupt people that work in police departments, right, airports. So again, the idea that I brought up after Bondi got rid of the pill mills, just because we secure the border doesn't mean we're stopping narcotics. We have to secure everything else. So we want to increase observation in those locations. We want to hire people that we can clear and have them in control centers, not even near these cameras. So like if they see a camera and they know it's being controlled by the security office at the port, they can just go in there and, extort and then bribe. That's their mechanism, usually. Right? They extort and bribe the security people. Can you be a cop that harasses that security person until they take the bribe? Probably so, also. I mean, not kind of just out there. It happens. So what we do is we take these cameras that we're going to install and the ones that are installed, and we run them to, federal government control centers or observation centers, whatever you want to call it. Again, it's not the nanny state. It's not. Right. What we need to do is we need to know where these drugs are coming in. And again, we'll have some AI that will be able to identify eventually what that all is. It will alert us, hey, over here. So you don't have to look at everything. But again, you have to, especially in the beginning, you have to look at AI and make sure it's not messing up. Right. Right. So you're gonna have to look at a lot of stuff. But that's what we have to do. We have to run these cameras away from a locally controlled station, so that there's no way that they can, again, with enough money and enough time, they might be able to figure out where the control center is. Right. But we need to run them away from any local facility that's easily identifiable. I mean, it could be a CIA type facility. I'm not saying it has to be CIA or anything like that. But again, people walk in there and they wear a uniform, like a like a ruse. They walk in wearing some sort of corporate uniform. That could just be a scam. That's how deep undercover it should go. I'm not saying they have to do that, but so they don't know who's watching what. Now, Elon's techie crew might be able to figure out electronically where it's going. So again, you have to build in, I told CIA before, they have to build in, like for hackers. I said, you need to build into your system a system where hackers get lost in it. Like they think they're traveling, like once a hacker is detected, they go into a virtual reality that isn't really leading them where they think they're going. They're actually in your quarantine, in your CIA quarantine, and they actually think they're still hacking. And through that, you can feed them bullshit information. Right. And it gives you time to look, to see their signal and all the other stuff, right? And isolate who it is and how many and all that. So you build a trap for the hackers. I think I told him that after Bradley Manning. May have been after Snowden, but definitely after. I would have told him after Snowden, but I may have told him that after Bradley Manning. They don't think they find a treasure trove of information. It's just bullshit. Great, sir. So again, we need to hide who's watching the cameras and there's, and again, they might take out a camera. So again, there has to be a quality control. There has to be people that make sure the system's actually working the way we designed it to work. I still have some pain, but I have more structure in my back that seems normal. I'm walking a little bit more normal. Not perfect, but again, perfect happened for me, and they killed it. Definitely a lot less drip going on today. The thing reacted almost immediately to the antibiotic. But I did massage my back a little different yesterday. So again, this tells me that massage might work. It's just getting to a comfortable place with massage. Again, you can see Satan working, causing the TB after causing COVID, which caused me not to get to my massage for a period of time. And it took me a while to get back to massage. And then when I got back to massage, she did it the wrong way. Right? So I was like, it was painful what she was doing. And because I had already so much pain. So again, if they never got involved, I would never have had that level of pain. Right? So again, they are using the blocking of medical treatment and the blocking of physical therapy based upon fabricated cases and psychological torture and all that to cause pain that they could, triggerable pain they could use for their torture procedures. And their torture procedures include Project Artichoke, MK Ultra, that kind of thing. That's what they're into. Don't let them tell you this is some conspiracy shit. Although it is a criminal conspiracy that they're into. It could be every fusion center in the United States at this point. That's how much work Ratcliffe has. No, they're using spycraft. It is CIA business. I don't care you try to say it's overseas. That's bullshit. You're using spycraft, CIA gets to look at you. They're the only people that can know what you're doing. Nobody else does. Right. Maybe a few people in FBI, but who knows? Only because I trained them. For Mr. Ratcliffe has to look at our fusion center people. I think they're big and bad using spycraft. Oh, we got one of our people in there. I tell you, the thing started while I was asleep, but I was already connected to the House and Senate inside. The senators moved in their mind this idea, who the hell are these people? What the hell's going on? The House will take over the government. Again, they know they can't say anything. Everybody says they're crazy. But I'm asleep, and I'm doing what the Senate and the House wants me to do, but there's actually no way to do it, because it was that corrupt at that point. Like during the Bush administration and the end of the Clinton administration, for a senator's view of the United States, it's not that corrupt. I mean, yeah, there's some financial stuff here and there, but there's no spycraft hostile takeover at that level because they couldn't see it. So part of what I was doing is being manipulated by the House and Senate, which means they should have made sure I was okay. I mean, they did. What happened is Senator Lautenberg did his part to get it all forward, right? Because they owed me. I was investigating what they wanted to investigate. It's just an inside thing, right? But what happened is they got mad. They wanted to take over the Senate and the House, at least restrict them. That's when they stopped, their stuff. Again, in Naples, Florida, there may have been a kind of move to try to help me. I don't know. It was kind of late in the game. It may have actually what triggered the deep state to actually maybe drug me and cause a disability. No, it would take deep torture for them, deep editing, to get me out of massage therapy because I had so much pain and it relieved that pain. I was still kind of there, but I was being blocked from everything at that point. Because no matter what choice you make, they make it torturous to have made that choice while they're drugging you. So we need to find these people that think they're big and bad because they drug people and they use spycraft, whether they're a cop or the Fusion Center or a military guy running those programs that they fabricate cases around or reasoning around. And we need to make sure they're not feeling so big and bad, at a minimum. If you're using spycraft in the United States, there's nobody that can figure it out at the level we need it figured out, but for CIA. Now again, once they locate them, then they have to turn them over to somebody else for the other stuff. Right. Oh, you're going to find people like The Fly that escaped in France. You're going to find people like that part of their thing. Yeah, Tren de Arega, some of them are like The Fly. I believe Tren de Arega was here. And don't tell yourself it's just Democrats. It's Republicans that were using them. Right? Because they were part of the deep state machine. Aurora's deep state. So when you said Aurora, I'm like, huh? Right. Even Garland was going after Aurora. So again, they may say, well, they just want us to be weak on the crooks. No, they were deep state. They were deep state people with spycraft and everything else. Garland may not even know why he was there. Right. I went to an hour. Oh, you do let me be. I would talk about nobody. Right. I would tell my massage therapist to be careful. I actually said, I have people that are trying to take me out from when I was in the government. Because at that point, how many years forward are we talking about? How many times did you attack my life at that point? Again, the idea is you pull off, and I wouldn't say anything. So I told him, just be careful with who comes up around you, that kind of thing. I said, this thing exists. You do the right thing. You don't do the wrong thing. If it comes into your life. But, it was just casual talk while they were massaging. Right. Thank you, Larry. But, of course, they did the wrong thing, right? You need to put the bosses in prison right away. Very dangerous. Whoever that guy was that said he owned that massage parlor or massage place, maybe a massage parlor, and I wasn't into it, they wanted me out of there. Right. Right. But it was a franchise of Massage Envy. And the person was corrupt, and I could see Massage Envy is more careful nowadays. And they also, at least here in Kansas, when I spoke about it, she was, because I wasn't asking for anything, I was just kind of explaining it. But she was like offering to assist and make sure that this doesn't happen again. But she says, I don't know how effective we would be. I was a good person. Whoever answers the phone at massage, she should get they should get an attaboy over there. Both times, even when I visited. Massage Envy by Natural Grocer in Olathe, the northern one. The southern one's great people too. And whoop, they're all great. That quick. Now the earth is a liar, so they might not necessarily live a great life. I can great people in a second. And they are great people for what they've done and the way they carry themselves. Except the one guy, he's a little bit passive aggressive. But again, he's just not mature enough to repel the deep state mind. But up at the North office, I just amazing people. I told them about my problem, what happened in Santa Fe, and she's like, well, I could talk to the manager here. We can come up with a plan, but I don't know. It'll probably still get in here. That's what she said. So again, she's being honest, but she's saying, look, we'll work with it. I said, no, I'm not really asking. I'm just letting you know what it is so we can work, see where we are with all of this. And she's like, oh, yeah, sure, no problem. Right. Oh, my God. Yeah, she was ready. You know what? They were ready to battle a deep state when I went to Santa Fe. Right. The information I told them, they seem like they're receptive. Again, they may have just been lying, but I said, you need to make the right choice when that confronts you. I said it a certain way, not so direct, but that was essentially it. So I had not all of them, but some of the New Mexico troopers were passive aggressive to me. What happened is, again, I didn't get pulled over and stuff. I got pulled over once by this cop. He was obviously, he probably could have been a veteran, but he's just an older cop. Not old, like 40 or something. Right. And Spanish guy, Mr. Moore. And a certain way of speaking. Is that you? Those decals on the back of your car? I just got out of the units already in the military. I'm a sapper leader. Okay, Mr. Moore, just go slow down. I don't think I was speeding, honestly. I just came across the intersection rather quick, but may have been a few miles. It could have been. Maybe he just wanted to check me out and see who I was. Right. But he's a very respectful guy. I'm sure he's probably retired by now or close to it. Right. So again, they don't do as much physical harassment as they do spycraft harassment, which it makes it easy for a police department to be duped. But again, I can feel generally if somebody's really into it. I ran several operations, like helped them with several operations, including getting rid of the meth dealer. The government wasn't even interested. Right. We did that. And then the people in the office were part of it too. They finally put them out. And there's a lot of stuff going on. Like they didn't have the key to get into his apartment. They wanted meth. So they would jiggle the door, but they were breaking the handle, the lock mechanism. They needed a fix, you know. Right. So they were breaking the exterior doors on it. Like if he was smart, and I don't know if he could afford to live, he just should have lived someplace like a small casita where he had an outside entrance where they could knock on his door. Right. But again, I'm sure somebody protected him because he didn't have any problem dealing with meth. Nobody, cops weren't interested in taking him out. I think there was some question of sexual impropriety there also. I can't remember how that one came up. I don't remember that specific case. Well, where they were kind of in bondage to the meth dealer, right? That happens frequently. But again, when it ruined my health, I could do a lot less. But I was driving around a lot and healing places, and they'd be attacking me while I'm trying to heal places, not letting my life get up, psyop me when I get back. Again, I don't know if this young woman was a prostitute or not, but I come down the stairs, and it's obvious they had access to the cameras. All right. So I come down the stairs, and just as I get into the hallway, she comes out of her. I'm wearing a mask too. She has no idea what I really look like. I don't think she's attracted to men with N95 sanding masks. So she comes up to me and she walks right to me, starts talking to me, shakes my hand. I mean, she's really being very neutral about it, but I think they were trying to see if I would just get interested in her, and who knows what it would have been, what it was about, right? I don't even know that conversation. She could have said, "Oh, he said something to me." I mean, because again, you try not to be so paranoid that you don't talk to anybody. And again, there's no way to investigate it unless you talk to people, right? And again, you don't have to ask direct questions. You just have to bring up certain subject matter. Correct. But she was some sort of bait, right? And then there's people that pick up that knocking around that time period. And then the sirens in the front of going across the highway. It's not going one direction. What they're doing is they're going from exit to exit and then spinning around. Now, of course, you enjoyed running the sirens around me here for a while. Tell me you were firestoned. Like when I was in the Marshal Service, my chief gave me this thing for the urinalysis. I wasn't worried about it, but he acted weird. It's like, again, somebody may have said something to him. I mean, he recovered from it, but he was kind of cold when he gave it to me. Right. And I went and I did it. I didn't worry. I mean, I was clean as clean be. I mean, even when I drank alcohol, I didn't drink that much. I gave away more alcohol than I probably drank. Like if I buy a 6-pack, I don't drink the whole 6-pack. I give a couple away. Right. Nothing wrong with drinking 1 beer or 2 beers, or maybe even 3. Right. Obviously, there's a health issue, and I don't drink anymore. Right. Actually, if I drank a little bit more, I may have been, because I stopped at a certain point, it may have helped me stay healthy, because it relaxes your body. Right. This is like a weird place to live because usually you'd get like a police response and a fire engine. But I wake up, I go outside. Why did I need to talk to this? What did I see? I think I saw the smoke pouring. I saw the smoke pouring out of his window first. I'm like, oh, holy. right, Molly and I went back inside, and I didn't even want to go. It was so bad, I didn't want to go inside. I didn't have a mask. I didn't have, that there, no reason for both of us to succumb to it, right? So I'm yelling at this dude, yelling. Yeah. He had passed out after being drunk all night, and he had something on the stove. But I mean, the smoke was horrible. No, it wasn't an open window. How did I know? Because I said something, he opened the window, or he walked to the open window. I can't remember. But this dude could have died of smoke inhalation. Oh, no, it wasn't open. I could smell it. That's what it was. I could smell it. And I went outside and I'm looking in and I see the smoke. And then I went to the door and I cracked the door, but I wasn't going to go in. And I'm yelling his name. I still couldn't get him to come out. He's just like stumbling around in there. So I got him to open the window. That's what it was, I think, at that point. And it's pouring out, and he's standing there in the window, but he's just out of it. So I'm like, go, get out of there. I'm trying to get him to go like to the door and get out of there. The Native American guy. So I had like a presence and a power over that place to keep it a little weller. And, even just even calling the ambulance and stuff when they were ODing and stuff, they might feel more comfortable because my presence is there. Right. I mean, I didn't care that I lived there because when I built the ark for the room, again, it came from a good deed that I was trying to engage in, and it turned out to be a Torah ark because Hashem was telling me how to build it. Because I figured if I was going to have anybody stay here that was a woman or had kids, because I was thinking about it, I'm like, how can I help this woman that's going to be put on the street? Because I don't have a lot of money, and I can't have her stay here. I mean, it's too close for all of us. So what I was going to do is I was actually first looking at room dividers, like what kind of, because I wanted a serious room divider. I didn't want just a little room divider. I wanted to make it look like it was two separate spaces as best I could. So Hashem, that the wall was born, with Hashem in tow, So we get to the point, Hashem says, well, I'm thinking, Hashem, I'd like to have like a mezuzah, like a big mezuzah in there or something that denotes, the Torah. Like I'd maybe make a homemade one or buy one, and I just couldn't feel comfortable with that. And next thing I know, I buy it's not a full-size Torah, but again, I can't, it's like being a Nazarite. I can't be around even dead animal. I'm not supposed to even be around dead. Hashem says, don't even, again, I'm an empath, so I can feel the dead animal. So, I can't really, I mean, it's like the ram's horn. If Hashem says, okay, buy the Torah, or you would give me the Torah, is what should have happened. I should have been able to receive a Torah from somebody, and then Hashem would say, okay. But really, you should be able to put a Torah together that's made from non-animal stuff. I bought a shofar, like what do they call it, a kudu horn or kuzu horn, whatever it is, one of them long ones, and it was made out of like fiberglass, but I couldn't get it to work. All right. That's the first one I bought. But I bought that Torah, and then I ended up with building that menorah to put in front of the Torah, which really makes a statement, Right, the shield, the eye, and the David star, and the two lions in front of the Torah, looking out, protecting the Torah. Right. So I never did complete like it full. It still left open. It was like a 5-foot section that was going to be a separate like doorway. But I never had anybody that I would stay there. Now she started showing up. But I think it was just too weird. I think the deep state was trying to pull a fast one. She was on the street, and when the bars would close, she started showing up at my window. But there's no way, after what had happened in Santa Fe, that I could have let her in at that time of the day. I kept telling her, come back at 2 p.m, not 2 a.m. Right. And she had a federal case pending and all sorts of stuff, so who knows what it was. Right. because it's really her boyfriend. He was the father of her kids, I guess. He was doing something screwy. I don't even remember what it was. I think it's some sort of fraud, right? Identity fraud or something. But the government was involved. Federal government was involved. Right? She had been living there and she got evicted. Right? I guess somebody paid for a couple months for her or something. So I figured if I could split my space, you know, if she slept on the outside space and I had to use the bathroom, I would have to pass by him. I mean, that would be the only interaction we would be required to have, right? And it was actually a wall that I could move back and forth. So if she was actually staying there, I would give them more space than I, had for my, dining room table and my internet gear. It actually turned out real well, but I actually built it in another apartment, and my apartment flooded. Like I noticed the cockroaches showing up. I'm like, what's going on? And then it was this flood building underneath the building. And then it came up, and then they tried to get me to move back. And I think that was a deep state move. Like I moved to a new apartment. I said, no way I'm going back. All right. I already moved once. And they were going to have me move back in before they concreted it. And I'm like, so it's probably deep state paying big money. Right. But they actually refurbed that apartment, and that's that veteran guy that had psychological disorder and something with his mother. I forget how. But I took care of him. I got him somewhere. He wasn't there long. Then there was the other guy who had memory problems really bad. And I just saw him standing in his window one day. Again, Hashem showed me to him, and we started talking through the window, and then he came out, and he had memory problems, and he was a construction guy, and he had been working construction until it really all crashed. And he had a boss or somebody he knew in the construction industry. Until I took care of him until this guy took him in. So he's going to live out generally his life with the guy. And contractors make big money, right? Especially in New Mexico. Houses are expensive. I took care of the guy with Alzheimer's for a while. I loved living there, but they attacked real hard, and I was being drugged. There's no doubt. I couldn't even get to my baths. I went to, everywhere I went, they would attack. Right? And believe me, I pushed through it plenty, but at a certain point, I couldn't. And I don't know. Again, they're psychologically operating me 24/7 around that and drugging me. So they hit the right combination, and you just can't get back. You can't get there from here. Right? Again, they shouldn't be allowed to do any of it. We're talking about decades of it. So they never interfered with my massage. And again, they were trying to get me to be sexual. So the one girl that was like representing herself as 19 and innocent, quote unquote, right? It was bullshit. She wasn't, but right. She was acting a certain way, and I didn't understand it. So I was like, maybe because people in desperate situations will go out, because I've been desperate, and I've been thinking, well, do I just go after any woman? What do I do? Because I want to be with somebody. So again, people that are desperate will go after anybody. So I'm not saying she was interested because I was and I didn't look bad at all. I mean, I was great looking for my age, and I was healthy, right? Except for these issues that would creep up if I didn't continue on in the massage therapy. So she was acting weird, and I just, I'm thinking maybe she doesn't know, because she had a kid out of wedlock, theoretically, right? Maybe she doesn't know how to have a relationship with people, because she seems like she's trying to attract me. Right. Well, if she has some issue in life, and maybe she needs to discuss something with me. Maybe she was trying to make me have sex, and they got spooked. I don't know. I mean, obviously, the deep state isn't interested in me trying to have sex in a massage place, right? So I gave her my card, and I just said that's who I am, and that's what I do for everybody. It's not that I want to have sex with her. I'm just trying to neutralize whatever she's got going on. All right. Well, I thought maybe she was 19. I really did, but she's probably some DHS or FBI person or New Mexico State person that's actually, 27, 28. Right. I mean, because when it all falls apart, I realized something was what the scam is. And they actually direct me to who I'm supposed to go to. And it was her. And then somebody else came up, so I went to that person. And that person was probably an agent also. And that person's like, massage yourself. Right. And then they canceled my membership. And actually, she stalked me in Walmart. No, it wasn't happenstance. She stalked me. Because what they do is they repeat a pattern of the other person that was stalking you previously. Because somebody used to show up in Walmart. And believe me, I tried to go to other massage places that just kept doing shit. And I'm just like, I just couldn't psychologically get through it. And again, I'm not crazy. I'm being real-time tortured by criminal enterprise, including government criminal enterprise. And that's why drugs and all the kids are missing. They're all part of it. Again, it sounds like some crazy MAGA thing, but you can actually put it in law enforcement context and spycraft context and realize what it is. Like I do. Wish I could get some massage here, but just not ready for it yet. Supposedly going to deliver those shoes. I'm thinking after those shoes, it might work a little better. Right. So they had, I think it was after they killed John. They got me. I was kind of almost a shut in. All the hang on, let me get this out. All the operation they were doing, right? And outside of work, right? So one day the spiritual thing, and I didn't realize what it was, then just like get out of the house, I grabbed my bike and tried riding it, and I only got a very short distance, and I had a flat tire. Whoops, whoops, it didn't work. So again, that shows you they're cursed, right? I get out of the house, I ride my bike, and then I get a flat tire. Well,